why don't we wrap things up with like where you are now? I mean, you're big on Bitcoin. Seems like I've
Yes.
seen something on you wanting to start like a Bitcoin bank or something like that. Like what's going on with you? Like what's happening right now?
Well, yeah, Bitcoin has suddenly, as it does, gradually first, then suddenly, just become a very integral part of my life and my mission and my work. And I'd have to say that this started back in 2019, going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, being caught by something that jarred my history, my lifelong history with gold. And I'll tell you, John, I had a huge chunk of gold in a vault in London. And I'd never seen the gold in my life ever. And, I'm paying these storage fees, I'm paying insurance, I'm getting these reports on my golds. I don't really know it's there. I've never visited the vault. No one showed me the cage where my gold was supposed to be with my name on it. And it just began to dawn on me as I became a little bit more aware of Bitcoin and its characteristics and how it was primarily built to be the digital form of this analog asset.
Hmm.
And something exploded. Like, oh my God. Like, wait a minute, gold has served as the base layer of the world's monetary system for the last 6,000 years, but we have moved to a digital world. We've moved to a world where analog items have been digitized. We've moved from going from kerosene lamps to light our homes to electricity, where you can't really see it or touch it, but you know it's there.
Hmm.
And so electricity has this immaterial element to it. We've moved from our analog phones to digital phones today. You can buy an analog phone, the ones that with the cord attached to it that you can dial for $37 on Amazon today. But if you want to go to the digital form of phone, like an iPhone Max or something like that, that's going to run you $1,200 to $1,500, right? We've seen our music go from going to see a band or a group play to listening to the band on vinyl to listening to the band on a cassette tape to a CD to now nothing. You can't touch an album today. You can't touch music today. It's been totally dematerialized. It's been totally digitized. We've digitized music. We've digitized movies from Blockbuster, where you used to go grab a physical movie, to Netflix today, where you can't touch one. You can touch your screen, but you can't really touch the movie anymore. It's been dematerialized. How do you put a billion songs? How do you give 8 billion people access to music? You dematerialize it. How do you give 8 billion people access to movies? You dematerialize. 8 billion people can't hold a physical music, a physical movie. But if you dematerialize it, it's instantly accessible to the world. This caught me that gold is being dematerialized. That we've had the analog version for all of these years, 6,000 years, in fact. But this is the dematerialization of it. And there is not one instance, John, in history where the dematerialized version, the digital version of an analog thing is equal to or smaller than the analog thing. So if you take the analog phone that's $37 today, you take the iPhone that's $1,500 today, exponentially higher. That the value of Netflix is exponentially more than the value of Blockbuster, which doesn't even exist today. All right. That which is digital, that which has been dematerialized, will not only move to the point where it's equal, it will greatly supersede the value and size and importance of the thing that it replaced. And when I begin to see Bitcoin as this digital, new, modern era version of this 6,000-year-old ancient rock, and I begin to see, well, wait a minute, this ancient rock is worth $11 trillion in value, and this is worth 200 billion. But wait a minute, This is supposed to now, if I'm right with this theory, not only go to 11 trillion to match the value of gold, it should exponentially take out the value. That's what's happened to every single thing on the planet that's been digitized and or dematerialized. And wow,
yeah,
that exploded. Now that
mind blown.
Mind blown, 2019. But I still felt that from my technical knowledge of markets, it wasn't ready. And I waited for the right time. And my God, almost as if just all the planets and stars aligned, I'd shorted the market in February of 2020. I got on stage and I announced to the world what I was going to do. This was at a money show in Orlando, Florida. And that video went viral. They filmed it and it went viral, where I'm calling for a market collapse. I'm telling them what I'm going to do. And we get the collapse, the pandemic collapse, right? A couple of weeks later into March, right? This collapse, profits explode. I announce I'm covering the shorts, all of them, that the move down was too big, too fast. I expected a collapse, but not like this. Covered, and I announced on March 12th, you can see this on my IGTV page. I went public on March 12th from the lobby of the W Hotel in Times Square, New York, to say, I'm now parlaying all of my assets, all of my gains from the short into Bitcoin today. Now, that was March 12th, 2020. Bitcoin was down over 50% at the time. I announced that I would be starting my accumulation under $6,000 a coin, all the way down. Every 500 points I'd be buying on the way down. I felt that we were in the zone of the bottom. And my God, with Bitcoin hitting over 67,000 today, it turned out to be one of the best calls of my entire life. What I'm very proud about is the fact that I carried over 4,000 people with me. I have a Bitcoin trading club that it consists of 4,000 people spread all over the world, and I've done everything in my human capacity to not only get them constantly putting into this asset that I believe is revolutionizing and evolutionizing the monetary system of the world. I've done my very best to try to get them from selling it, because this is not an asset that you sell or trade. My life has been surrounded around trading, but you don't trade this asset, John.
So you're treating it like gold. You're just hodling, basically, like we're hanging on to this thing.
Well, think about this. I believe that Bitcoin is the protocol of the monetary system, the future monetary system of the world. So in another way of saying that is, I believe that Bitcoin is the internet of money. Money has been untouched by the dematerialization effect that I explained earlier. So we got the dematerialization of music and photos. Nobody has albums under their coffee table anymore. You've got the photos digitized in your phone, right? So we've digitized photos, we've digitized music, we've digitized everything in life. I now can hold an entire library that my mother used to work in on my iPhone. We've digitized books, we've digitized education, we've digitized everything. The only thing that's not been touched by that movement is money. And so Bitcoin's come to do that. Now, imagine if we had the ability to buy into the internet as the protocol, not the Amazon on top of the protocol, not Facebook on top of the protocol, not Google, who's tied its business into the protocol. What if you could own the protocol? Like if Google moved itself over a 22-year period to become $1 trillion asset, and Amazon over a 24-year period became $1 trillion asset by plugging themselves into the protocol. If they're both $1 trillion assets, doesn't that mean the protocol they're plugged into is worth more? Well, Bitcoin is the monetary protocol of the world now. We have the ability to go all the way back to 1995, 1997 and buy a piece of the brand new internet called Bitcoin. Not companies like Coinbase and MicroStrategy and Square that plug themselves into the protocol, they're going to be valuable as well. I'm talking about owning the land underneath those companies. The internet was the land underneath Google, underneath Apple, underneath Microsoft. That was the land that gave them life, but we were never able to own it. Bitcoin is the land of money for the future. And we have the ability to stake our claim into the protocol. You don't sell the protocol. You can buy and sell the companies on top of the protocol to your heart's desire. You don't sell the real estate.
Interesting.
That's my 3-minute pitch, I think.
I've never heard it put like that. That's, I mean, it makes it pretty clear, honestly.
There you go.
Now, I mean, I think it's definitely, it's going to change the way we live. And I think you're perfectly right about it all. What I'm curious to know
is today. So, I mean,
what's that?
It's not just, all-time new highs today from 3,800 to 67. So far, so good. But I think that we are still in the beginning. We're still in the beginning, John. This is just the beginning. And the message I keep pounding the table on is that, you can't regard a 12-year-old baby as being finished.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple's 44, it took 44 years to become $1 trillion asset. 44 years. Was there ever a point that was smart to sell it? No. Was there ever a point that was smart to sell Microsoft? No. It took Apple 42 years, Microsoft 44 years. It took Google 22 years, Amazon 24 years, Bitcoin 12 years. And it's a baby. We can't it's still early. I mean, this is going to, in my opinion, run for decades. It'll run for the rest of our lives. And when I tell people that, they feel like that's strange. Like, how can you say that, Oliver? But I say, well, look, these things have run your whole life. These items I just mentioned, Apple, they've run your whole life. The market has run beyond your life. The market's been going up for the last, 60 years, 70 years in a row. Bond market's up 300 years in a row. Gold's been rising for 6,000 years. Albeit very gradually lately, but still, like, when you think of the enormity of this time and space that we're in and what Bitcoin brings to it, it's literally mind-boggling. And so I'm just out there pounding the table, making sure that I do my part to just help the adoption, I think it's going to be important for people's future.
Right on. Well, why don't we wrap it up there, man? I mean, that's a good way to end it.
That's honestly a great way to end it.
Let's end it on the way of the future.
End it on the best thing. Absolutely.
Good stuff. Hey, listen, thank you so much, Oliver. I really appreciate you making time for us.